We've discussed this many times on the program about the dangers of the abortion drug mifepristone, the dangers that it poses, obviously, not only to the unborn, but to the mothers themselves. And now we have some very welcome news. The Trump administration announced in a letter that they sent to 22 different Republican attorneys generals that the FDA is indeed planning to re-examine whether or not mifepristone is really safe. Is it as safe as the left claims it is? And in that letter, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., along with FDA Commissioner Marty Makary, said that the agency would conduct its own review of the evidence, including real-world outcomes and evidence relating to the safety and efficacy of the drug. That is huge and welcome news. And joining me now to discuss this, as well as some other things for our weekly Biblical Worldview discussion, is David Closson. He's the director of the Center for Biblical Worldview here at the Family Research Council and author of the recent book, Life After Roe, Equipping Christians in the Fight for Life Today. David, as always, thanks for joining me on Friday. Good to see you.
Happy Friday. Great to be with you, Jody.
All right, so we've got some good news I was just talking about, and I know that that you're all over this, and I'd love to get your reaction to the news about the letter that was sent to Republican attorneys generals promising to study the issue of chemical abortion.
Yeah, Jody, this is great news. And we know, actually, going back to May, is when HHS, of course, which is led by Bobby Kennedy and his FDA director, back in May is when they told us that they were going to conduct a review of the safety of chemical abortion drugs, the mifepristone pill that you mentioned. This letter that was reported on just a day or two ago basically confirms that this review is underway and ongoing. So again, this is very encouraging. They promised that they were going to do this back in May, and that the fact now that we know that they are doing this is encouraging. Of course, those of us at Family Research Council, we are encouraging the administration that while this review is ongoing, to reinstate some of those original safeguards that were in place back in 2000 when this pill was initially approved in the waning days of the Clinton administration. We want some of those original safeguards put in place, as well as an ultrasound requirement. Because we know, Jody, these pills are not safe. Obviously not, they're lethal for unborn children, but even the FDA's own research shows that 1 in 25 women have a adverse health effect. And of course, a survey, a big major research project in the spring showed that the number is actually much higher. This is the EPPC report that shows it's actually closer to 11% of women have an adverse health effect. So this is great news that we have confirmation that this review is ongoing, and we need to be praying and hoping and continue to encourage the administration to do the right thing.
Yeah, and as all of us could imagine, abortion rights groups are totally up in arms about this letter. They don't want to see this happen. But I want to underscore what you just said in relation to the history of these pills. I mean, back when they were first approved, there were safeguards that were in place at that time, but those were rolled back under Democratic presidents. Is that correct?
Jody, absolutely. And when you introduced me, you mentioned my book, and I actually hold a whole section detailing this because I really believe this is kind of the next frontier. This is, 63%. Some estimates place it even higher of abortions that take place in this country are through these chemical abortion drugs. So it's incredibly significant. When these pills, by the way, were approved under a very hasty, very politicized process, again, in the waning months of the Clinton administration, there were some safeguards put in place. You could only take these pills 49 days gestation. There were 3 in-person doctor visits that were required. Only physicians could prescribe the pills. You had to report all adverse health effects. And it was the Obama administration, actually in 2016, that walked back many of those safeguards. They reduced the number of in-person visits to one. Non-physicians could prescribe them. They allowed the drugs to be prescribed up to 70 days. No reporting of non-fatal adverse effects. And then, of course, it was the Biden administration that went even further, using the COVID-19 pandemic to allow these pills actually to be sent through the mail and through telehealth. And so, again, these are just, it's very unregulated. It's kind of the wild, wild west. And that's why this review is so important, with the hope that some of the things that the Biden and Obama teams did, we can roll those back for the safety of children and women.
And David, I think this is a good opportunity to bring up the reality that we've just recently seen, for example, defunding in Planned Parenthood. That's been a big discussion, and grateful to see that happen. And that is great. But there's a big but here, and that is that Planned Parenthood does not do the number of abortions they used to do. As you just said, didn't you say 63% of abortions are now done through these pills, these chemical abortions? That is, as you said, that is the new frontier. And that is the issue that has to be addressed. And I'm thrilled to see the administration going forward in this regard on these abortion drugs.
Yeah, Jody, absolutely. It's critical because, again, I remember when I was growing up in the 90s, going to pray, on a Saturday outside abortion clinics, because most abortions, of course, that were taking place were surgical abortions. In the 90s, it was all of them, of course, here in this country at least. But again, these chemical abortion drugs are the overwhelming majority. In fact, of course, we praise the Lord. We all remember where we were June 24th, 2022, when Roe v. Wade was overturned in the Dobbs decision. But in the year after Roe was overturned, there were more abortions by most statistics than the previous year. And why is that? It's because of these pills. And so, again, those of us who are pro-life need to realize this is our battle now. And again, these are just they're lethal for babies, dangerous for women.
Absolutely. All right, David, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Here it comes. Okay. I know this, your area of biblical worldview, and you're fantastic at that. Not necessarily with elections, but there's a lot of talk that this issue that you and I are talking about right now is going to be a huge midterm election in 2026, an issue for those midterms. How do you respond to folks who are worried somehow that the midterm elections might be in jeopardy given the context of the study on these abortion pills?
Well, Jody, look what happened in 2022. You don't need to be a Nostradamus. I think, the left, abortion is their sacrament. They think about abortion all the time. And I think what we learned in the 24 election and in the 22 midterms is that the average American doesn't think about abortion every day. They think about the price of groceries. They think about the price of gas. They think about the economy. They think about taxes. In 2022, months after Roe v. Wade was overturned, you had a lot of pro-life governors, actually. Governor DeSantis in Florida, Governor Kemp in Georgia, Greg Abbott in Texas, Mike DeWine in Ohio, that actually cruised to re-election, and they ran on a strong pro-life campaign.